What is going on, Trash Talkers? We are back with another episode for you. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Jadeveon Clowney signing with the Cleveland Browns. That's right, we're going to get you all the contract details you need to know, tell you how we believe this is going to fit both the player and the team. All that and much more coming your way right now! All right, Nick. Well, we learned earlier this week that Jadeveon Clowney has signed a 1-year, up to $10 million contract with the Cleveland Browns. He finally joins the Browns 1 year after them chasing him very hard to join their roster. What did you make of this move as soon as you heard about it?
Honestly, I saw this coming for a while because Jadeveon Clowney doesn't have many suitors, but the Cleveland Browns have been pursuing him for years now, and they knew that there wasn't much competition. They could get him on a pretty cheap deal, and this is going to work out for Jadeveon Clowney in the long run because he gets to be a part of a team that is absolutely stacked at every level of the defense, and he's now opposite their other acquisition, Anthony Walker, who's coming over from the Colts. These two on the end are going to be solid outside linebackers for the Cleveland Browns, and they'll be able to work with Myles Garrett on the defensive line. I think that this is exactly what Jadeveon Clowney needs to get his career back to where it used to be. But for the Cleveland Browns, they're taking so much risk on by signing Jadeveon Clowney, a guy who had okay success in Seattle and then went to Tennessee last season and had a terrible season, getting no sacks in 8 games. He just did not look like Jadeveon Clowney. He did not look like a former first overall pick. He looked like a 7th overall pick. He looked like somebody you'd get in undrafted free agency because Jadeveon Clowney has not come back from these injuries that he suffered in Houston. He is not fully recovered, and I think that his legs, his body overall, have taken such a beating that he is not at the athletic capacity where he used to be. He's never going to be able to put up the numbers we fully expect him to. Now, we saw last season that he's able to get pressure on the quarterback. He's still able to get there, but he still has trouble finishing the job and actually getting the quarterback down to the ground. So I think Jadeveon Clowney's got a lot to work on, but there's a reason that he decided not to sign with the Cleveland Browns last year, whether it has to do with the staff or whether it has to do with with something else. Who knows? But there's something that Jadeveon Clowney doesn't like, and he ended up taking this deal because he had no other options.
So let's backtrack a little bit. Jadeveon Clowney last year was offered a contract from the Cleveland Browns, 3 years, $57 million, which it comes out to roughly $19 million per year. But he ended up taking a 1-year, $13 million contract to sign with the Tennessee Titans, whose head coach is, that's right, Mike Vrabel, his former linebackers coach with the Houston Texans. He thought that he might be able to revitalize his career after spending the season in Seattle and not producing like he wanted to. He went to Tennessee and actually produced even less. He did even worse than what we expected him to do or had seen him do in Seattle. Now, moving forward, the Cleveland Browns said, now we have to bargain hunt. We can bargain hunt with this guy. We can get him on a much lower deal, a prove-it type of deal. So the deal is 1 year, up to $10 million, which means there are incentives for gameplay, accolades, different things that have not been announced just yet. So we'll take a look at that when it does. But as for the time being, I'm taking a look at how this Browns roster is constructed, and I'm saying to myself, man, they are about one middle linebacker away from being able to compete in the AFC because they have all levels of the defense figured out. The acquisitions of Troy Hill and John Johnson in the offseason, paired with Grant Delpit coming back from injury, This defense looks incredibly solid. Now you got to make sure that Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, these running backs, this offensive line, these guys are ready to go because I mean, it's going to be a battle every single week. There's really no weakness on this team, and if you're Kevin Stefanski, you have to be loving the position that your team is in because I'm taking a look at this roster and just the flip flop that it's done in the 2 years that he's been there is absolutely incredible. I really like what the Browns have done, and I really like what they'll be able to do moving forward. But the Browns have this aura around them that just you can't put all your chips into the middle of the table. You can't say I'm going to bet the house that they're going to get things done. I need to see it first. I've seen too much letdown from this franchise to be able to say, you know what, this stacked roster is actually going to ball out. And it does start with a player like Jadeveon Clowney. I need to see him revitalize his career. I don't know if it's going to happen here. And the problem is that he had JJ Watt in Houston, so he never had to be the number one. He had Whitney Merciless. He had an incredible defense around him of other pass rushers. Goes to Seattle. He was the number one pass rusher. He was not effective. Then he goes to Tennessee. He was the number one pass rusher. Was not effective. Now he goes to Cleveland and he's no longer the number one pass rusher. He's got other people around him that are going to rush the passer extremely well. A lot of teams had looked at the Cleveland Browns at possibly grabbing one of these defensive ends in the first round of the 2021 NFL draft. Now I take a look and say, okay, they need somebody in the middle of that defense. Jadeveon Clowney can get back to his former glory as long as Myles Garrett's still on that field opposite him. So I look for the Cleveland Browns to be in a really good position. I look at Jadeveon Clowney as being the biggest winner here.
He absolutely is a big winner, but I don't believe that the Cleveland Browns are done just yet. Adding pieces to their linebacking core, adding edge help. I believe that they will be using multiple picks in this upcoming draft to secure not only depth pieces, but also pieces that they can rely upon in case Jadeveon Clowney does not prove to be the guy they want him to be. They can't go into this next season and get all the way to the AFC Championship game and have either an unhealthy Jadeveon Clowney or a Jadeveon Clowney that's not producing for them. They need to have guys that are in there that they can rely upon, that are going to get to the quarterback, get pressure, and they can rely upon to actually make it onto the field for those games. So they've got to bolster up this linebacking core. They've got to add another edge rusher opposite Myles Garrett. There are still a couple holes. They have very few, but they are pretty vital.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Browns can actually take this team from possible contention last year. They were fringe playoff team, and then all of a sudden, now it looks like they could be competing with the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC, and possibly being the number one seed that gets that bye week, that coveted bye week. But I believe there's a lot more to the story, and we are just not privy to that just yet. So let's revisit this when more information comes out, when the Browns go through their draft, and let's take a look back and see what they've done, make sure that it's going to work out in their favor. All right, well, that's going to do it for now. Thank you all for watching. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell. We go live every single day. That'll be all. Peace and love.